Casting with Ceri Jones.
Hi guys, and welcome to this week's podcast. I am long come back from the BFFI show. As I'm now the new editor of the Flyfishing Journal, we had a stand there, and what a great show it was. Not only was it good for the journal, I really enjoyed meeting so many new faces, especially the new patrons I've got. I met so many over the weekend, and it was nice to put a face to the name. Really enjoyed it. And even though the new post of being the editor is going to take a lot of my time, I'm still passionate about doing my podcast. And it was actually at the show I meet my guest for the first time. We've been in touch many times about meeting up, but one thing led to another and we didn't actually get around to it. So as soon as I come back, I give him a message and recorded this podcast. So this week's guest hails from South Yorkshire and is quite a wizard when it comes to casting. And I don't think Harry Potter will be able to put a line out as well as he does. As well as being a qualified casting instructor, he talks of his guided trips to Iceland and also about his new Facebook group which he set up, Spey Worx, giving advice for all types of fly fishing, plus a funny story which he had a lucky escape from and could easily been locked up in prison while fishing in Dubai. Welcome to my chat with Chris Hague. Welcome to my podcast, Chris, and thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no, it's really nice. It was really nice to catch up with you at BFFI at weekend, and it's been a long time coming. We've been meaning to do it for a while, and it's great to chat.
It was, wasn't it? And as always, when you're at the show, you know, you're on a stand, and like I was on the stand of the Flyfishing Journal, and it's like, it's so busy, and you want to speak to different people, and then and when I saw you then, I thought, right, I need to chat to you, and you were busy yourself. And then so as soon as I came back home then, I thought, I've got to give you a message. But it was great to catch up because your name have come up in conversations with many people over the last year or two especially. And it was good finally to put a face to a name.
Yeah, no, it was good to see you. It was nice to see you.
So you've done many shows. I know I'm looking at your page and that. And have you ever done the BFFI?
No, it's not a show that I've done. In fact, that's the first time I've ever been to it. And it were big numbers at that show on Saturday. There were some demos, and I saw a few. Obviously, Mackenzie's had a stand-up. So I spent quite a bit of time there. But I saw it predominantly as more of a fly time. There were a big fly time culture there, which were really good to catch up with some of the fly tyers there now. But no, overall I was really impressed with it. It's not a show that I've done. I've demonstrated abroad at London Fly Fair, Chatsworth Game Fairs, places like that, but it's not one that I've ever done before. Yeah,
I remember I went to the show. I think it was over 10 years anyway, and it was in quite a nice plush hotel then. They had carpet on the floor, and this one, that's the only downside to the BFFI here. Great show, not knocking it, but when you're standing there all day, 2 days, standing on concrete, it draws your feet. My feet was aching at the end of the day. Like
busy though. Well, very busy.
It was, and it was bigger than I thought because it was 3 large rooms, wasn't it? 2 for people selling and displaying their products, and then you had then the tyres row, and that was quite a large room on its own as well.
Yeah, there were a lot of tyres. So stopped and talked to one or two that I knew and picked a few tips up. You can always learn something from them guys.
I know. And do you know what? Like, I've tied flies since I was a 12-year-old. And then I just gave it up probably about, 10, 12 years ago. And I just lost it. I just lost the interest in it. And lockdown started me off again. And seeing that some of the tyres there really inspired me. You know, there's something special, some of these people on the tyres road there.
Just to watch them, it's amazing. I tie out of necessity. So I tie all my nymphs up in the winter ready for the trout season. And I'll stock some salmon flies up and things like that. But I just sort of stock my boxes up, and then once that's done, kit's away for you until end of season. Do you know what I mean? So it's a winter thing for me.
Yeah.
It's not a week. It's not a week on week thing.
You mentioned winter. One of the questions I'm going to ask you, because I know you fish for different species on the fly. Did you fish at all during the winter for grayling or something?
Yeah. I'm always on the grayling. I like pike, and if I can get away to some sunshine, somewhere like Dubai, then queenfish and species like that out there is great sport. And I know a company out there called Ocean Active. They're a great company. So yeah, if I get chance, places like that where you can go and winter fish in sunshine's excellent.
Yeah, I like the idea of that, because I'm not a great lover of winter fishing. I'm more of I've mentioned it before on the podcast. I like a traditional season, the March 1st. You're up for it then. But the idea of fishing in somewhere warm, I'll be well up for that.
It's much nicer to be hung off the front of a skiff in Dubai than it is wrapped in 18 layers and your waders stood in River Derwent chasing grayling.
Yeah, and we're still leaky waders.
yeah. So yeah, I fish for a lot of different species. I fish 12 months a year. So salmon, trout, sea trout, grayling. So, and then saltwater species, pike. Yeah, 12 months a year I'll fish.
So where are you based then? Is Barnsley, am I right in saying?
Yeah, I'm based in Barnsley in South Yorkshire. So
what would be your local water?
So I've got the River Dern that literally runs probably about a mile from my doorstep. River Don is quite near. Them's two of my nearest rivers for trout and grayling. And then I'm a member at Chatsworth House on River Derwent, so I fish there a hell of a lot. And then if I'm guiding, I'll guide on the Wye, the Don, Dern, or even occasionally on River Wharf.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got plenty of rivers to go up within an hour of me. There's plenty of trout rivers. We're not spoilt with salmon rivers, but I have to travel a lot further to get to salmon.
Yeah. I noticed like those waters you were saying, they're all rivers. There's predominantly rivers. You do fish. Do you fish any lakes or the reservoirs?
Yeah. If I've got clients that come along for lessons, I usually advise them to go to lakes first, because there's less going off. Moving water, you need a bigger skill set of casts. So I think it's easier for them to cut the teeth on still waters. So occasionally, once they've had a few lessons, I'll get asked, can you take me and guide me on a still water? So yeah, I do still waters, and I've done boat fishing in the past at places like Grafham and places like that. But my love is moving water. I love rivers.
So how did it start for you then?
Where we were based, where I was born, I literally lived 500 yards from River Dove. We had a canal about 300 yards away from us, and a reservoir maybe about 1,000 yards away from us. So I was surrounded by water as a kid. So I'd have fished in a puddle, to be honest. So yeah, we course fished or fished on river, and there were no fly fishing available to us. But my mum and dad used to take us to his boss's. He had a little villa type thing in Wales, like a cottagey type thing.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where I fell in love with in Wales. I saw people fly casting, and I just thought it was like an art form, and like I was just smitten. That were it. And now I'll only ever fish a fly rod. I'll not fish any other species. If I can't get it on a fly, then I'm not getting it. There were rods actually at the place where we stayed, all shoved in the roof of the garage, and there were a river just nearby, and you could see salmon jumping up over rocks, and they were in abundance at that time, Ceri. So I probably fouled up a few and hooked my first salmon down there, and then was smitten by fly fishing. But it was the art form. It was watching these guys control this fly line that I fell in love with.
So how old would you have been then?
10, not 8. Yeah, about 10-year-old, I would say then. Yeah.
So this brings me on then, you saying you liked watching them and the art of the actual getting the line out. Most of your background, not so much background then, your your business then is a casting instructor, yeah?
Yeah, so I try to offer all services if I'm honest, Gary. So yeah, a certified app guy, single and double-handed, with Gaia, and then I took my FFI Masters, single-handed. I took that in USA, and I took my double-handed Masters over here. So as certified as high as I can go. I became a level 3 assessor and an international ambassador for FFI as well. But what the services I offer is I'll give individual lessons, group workshops, obviously demos, guided days, destination trips, and mentoring. So mentoring other people to become instructors. So I try to offer a full package. If I get somebody that comes along, they can start the lessons with me, they can have a guided day with me. If they want to do a destination trip, that's fine. If they want to be mentored to be a professional instructor, they can be. So yeah, I try to offer all the services.
So before we actually go on to where you teach and your trips, which you do, explain to me, because there are quite a few of you mentioned them then, these qualifications. You've got the Gaia, FFA, AppGuy. What is the difference to them then?
If you look at the exams themselves, there's not a lot of difference in what they're asking you to do. The one thing I would say about the FFI is it's internationally recognised as opposed to other, UK-based. If I just got AppGuy and I went to Australia, they'd probably not even have heard of it, or I wouldn't be recognised. But if I'm FFI, if you're FFI, it's Fly Fishers International, so you're recognised worldwide. One of the things I like about FFI is they make sure that you stay current. So every 5 years, I have to go and do a peer performance test to make sure that my single-handed and my double-handed casting's still up to, master's level, so that I can assess other people. So they're quite on button with things like that, So, yeah, that's probably the difference, Gary. There's not a lot of difference in between what they ask you to do on exams from AppGuy to Gaia to FFI. Just FFI is internationally recognised.
Yeah. So are you a master with the FFI, are you?
Yeah, MCI and THCI, so Master Casting Instructor single-handed and TH two-handed Master Casting Instructor.
Are they crossover? Say, for instance, you got a certain level with AppGuy, and then you were thinking, right, I'll get my FFA qualification. Can you jump in somewhere, or you just got to go start again?
No, you can sort of miss the entry level out. So you could miss. There's a casting instructor and a masters for each discipline. So you could miss the casting instructor out and go straight to MCI, or miss the THCI, which is 200 casting instructor out, and go to THMCI, and reverse as well. So if you were a member FFI and you wanted to do the AppGuy or you wanted to do Gaia, you can miss, if you're certified at Masters, then you can miss the entry level out and take their advanced exam.
So where is it you would instruct? Have you got waters where you, if somebody wanted to up your neck of the woods, then say, right, they want to have some instruction?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I've even had people come from abroad for lessons. People that I've met on FFI events, and they've taken my card and travelled from abroad to prepare, for some mentoring. But I'm based at Rotherham, at Wentworth. It's called Wentworth Fisheries, but it's actually a stately home, Wentworth Woodhouse. It's the biggest stately home in the country. And I've got a lake that's just, there's only me who uses it. It's got a submerged jetty. So it's excellent for spey casting off both shoulders. It's in the prettiest countryside. I've got deer running around. It's a stunning location. So that's where I do all my casting teaching. I used to do it at a shop called Fly Only, which is local. But they had some casting poles at the back of their shop. And they actually lost them. Somebody bought them, filled them in, and put a business on there. So when that happened, obviously I had to look for a new place to teach, and I went to Wentworth Fisheries.
Right. There's no trout in there. It's just for demonstration, the casting techniques.
The lake I'm on they use it as a sort of growing big carp on for specimen at lakes at bottom. The lake below that had a syndicate on it last year, and that were a trout fishery. Some guys that'll come for lessons, they'll ask if they can stay on, and fish. So we offer that service as well.
When it comes to Chatsworth, that's just for your pleasure fishing. You don't instruct.
Yeah, no. When my mum and dad, if we're having a ride out on a Sunday, we used to go to Chatsworth, and I always loved Chatsworth. It was, it's such a stunning place, and rivers absolutely beautiful. You're going to struggle to find a prettier river that runs through their grounds. And I got a chance to become a member maybe about 5 years ago, so I took it on. That's where I go to clear my head. That's where I'll go and walk bank for miles and miles, pick a pool out, and then maybe you were running in fit or wait for fish rising, you know what I mean, and try and get them on a dry.
Is that stock then, or is it purely wild fish?
It's wild browns, stock rainbow, stock blue. We get a good head of grayling in there this year. We also get barbel and the odd chub. Had some big. Yeah. I've had double figure barbel out to Chatsworth, the River Derwent to Chatsworth.
Not in the fly though, no.
Yeah.
Oh, did you?
Took it on a nymph. Got it on a nymph and on a 3-weight rod with about 3 pound line. So
you weren't targeting them; they just happened to come along, I guess.
It were in a swim, and I was fishing for trout, and I hooked it, and I thought, well, this is a lump, and then and then it set off down river, and I was there sprinting down river after it, but probably about 20, 25 minutes later, I got it to net. Yeah.
Talking about Chatsworth, I remember actually, I did a game fair there once, and because they have these CLAs, don't they, every year, it's north, south, and this one particular year, I'm sure it was Chatsworth, and they got a little bridge going over the river, haven't they? Yeah,
on the entrance to the house. It's a stunning building, that. I think they've just had all the windows gold leafed over the last couple of years.
Really?
And it's some ridiculous amount, like millions, to have these windows gold leafed.
Oh, you just got PVC, I have.
Yeah, a lot more user friendly, man.
I've noticed as well you got some involvement with Guideline. What's the story there? You're pro staff or something, you?
I left Guideline last year, and I've been with them for 10 years as pro staff.
Oh, right.
Right, and then I had a load of offers come in, and I thought, I'm very busy, Ceri, so I thought, do I need it? Anyway, Scott McKenzie contacted me. He said, I'd like to have a chat with you, Chris. And I says, look, Scott, I don't want to waste your time, but I don't know if I want to just be a pro staff for another company. And I didn't want to be seen, Ceri, as somebody that just jumped from brand to brand. I've never done that. I've been loyal. So, 10 years with Guideline tells you that. So he said, well, are you up in Scotland? I said, I'm up in a couple of weeks fishing. He says, would you mind if we had a meal and I have a chat to you? So went fishing, met him on the evening. We went and had a meal, and he said, look, I'm interested in you becoming part of our product development marketing team, so to stroke advisory capacity. So, it pricked my attention a little bit. And I'm like a casting junkie. If I'm not fishing, I've usually got a rod in my hand playing with it, doing some sort, something with it. So this could be interesting. So I went on board with them last year. We've been busy. We're doing the new FX2s is out. They're due to come into the country anytime. So I was part of that process. Scott, Andrew Toft, and a guy called Ian Kirk, they've been together for a long time. They tested rods. They came down to me. I tested them. We all gave us feedback. They went back. There were slight alterations until they got it exactly right. And then new products is due in any time now. So, exciting things going on.
I aimed actually to go over and have a chat with him. I never met him. And I thought, right, I got to go and see Scott McKenzie. But he was so busy at the journalist stand, I just couldn't leave. But it was one of those things. I had so many people who wanted to meet. And it's different being at the stand and being just a guest, isn't it? Just a punter.
It was nice. It was nice for me. I obviously spent a bit of time at stand, but I got a chance to walk around and meet one or two people that I hadn't seen for a while, so it was nice.
Well, you say you fished for all different species on the river.
Yeah.
What's your favourite one?
Probably, at this moment in time, I'm leaning towards salmon. I've done a lot of salmon fishing over the last few years.
Yeah.
But it sort of goes in seasons for me, Ceri. So I'm sort of grailing pike now. Then when it comes into early season, I'll be on chasing trout. And then I'll flip over to salmon. And then I run a couple of trips into Iceland. So I'll be on salmon for the rest of the year. And hopefully at some point, I'll sneak a saltwater trip in. There's just something special about them salmon, king salmon. They don't call them king salmon for nothing. I hooked a couple I had probably about 5 fish over 15 pound on West Ranger. And 2, in fact, there's a video, they're both on my YouTube channel and they're also on my social media channel. And one literally pulled me out, took me from one stretch, one beat, pulled me down onto the next beat. I thought we were going to finish up in Edge. I just couldn't put brakes on it.
It's exciting, right, isn't it?
Unbelievable strength and power. There's just something about him in Iceland. I don't know if it's, clarity of water, it being cold, it being highly oxygenated. They don't have to travel as far from the feeding grounds to get back into the water. But you walk into an 8-pound fish in Iceland and you actually think you've got a 12, 13-pound fish on your hands.
You need to be fit then. You need to be able to run.
Yeah.
Well, before that comes on to something I want to chat to you about, actually. Before we go on to your Iceland trips, you used to be a footballer, yeah? Professional footballer.
Yeah, I played all the way through youth system at Sheffield Wednesday. And then I actually was full-time when I first left school, yeah. I had a spell at Barnsley. And actually, I had a spell down at Newport, but probably about 12 operations on my left knee put paid to that career.
What was that like? It must have been a buzz to be able to play for a team professionally in front of a good crowd.
Well, to be fair, I only sort of had a couple of run-outs with first team, like pre-season and that, you know what I mean? So I got an injury early on in my career, and I lost some movement in that knee. So
right.
It sort of kiboshed my career. But yeah, I mean, when I was at school, I was capable, but I just weren't interested because I knew that I was signing professional when I left school.
Yeah.
So I had no interest in sports being a massive part of my life. Football, and then when I packed in with football, I qualified for English triathlon, British triathlon team, amateurs.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a massive part of my life, sport. That's where I dare not get into competitive river fishing because I will be divorced if I do. It's just that competitive nature. You've either got it or you haven't.
I know.
I've got too much.
I used to do an awful lot of competition fishing on the Lochstyle, and it was getting expensive. But not only that, it's just that I spend a lot of time in Ireland and a lot of other places. But if I hadn't discovered Ireland, I'd be a wealthy man now.
Yeah.
Spent so much time and money on that place. But it's money well spent.
Yeah, well, you can't take it with you, mate. And if you enjoy it, why not do it?
Yeah. Going back to the football. Since our last conversation, you mentioned your team who you support. Both ours are going to be struggling relegation this year. West Ham, and you're an Everton man. Yeah.
I just can't see Everton getting out this time. They'll have a brand new stadium next year, but I think it'll be in Championship.
That'll be the first time. And Jesus, they've always been in top flight, haven't they? As far as I can remember.
Yeah, longest serving club, aren't they, in top flight football?
Yeah.
So,
and we've got your own manager.
Yeah.
I don't know, Moisey. I don't know how long for, mind.
might not be long if he loses many more.
No, that's right. I have vouchers available to spend on my online shop for signed prints, plus gilly kettles and other accessories, or for one of my tuition packages. Plus, I'm now taking bookings for my Corrib Ferox days this season. Back to Iceland now. So you run these trips. How often and how long have you been doing them?
Probably I've done salt before, but probably into Iceland for about the last 5 years in Iceland. I have a regular week on the West Wrangler, or I have regular days on the West Wrangler. And then last year, I also fished Foss waterfalls, and the Alsa. So yeah, it's the thing is, like with salmon fishing, Ceri. If you have that week, you get that week off of the year after. So getting onto a prime week is hard to do. Once you've got that week, you're always offered that week. You know what I mean? But the prices have gone up ridiculously, ridiculous amount prime time in Iceland this year, like 35% increase for a prime week in Iceland this year.
Wow.
Yeah, we've changed our week. I've dropped it from July because it was just too expensive. We've dropped it into August now.
The thing is, I've noticed with Iceland, because I've been twice, and the first time I went, I couldn't get over because you got these known rivers like the West Wrangler, which are like they're known for the salmon rivers. When I went to the trout rivers. Like you got the Laxar up north, Laxar, Araldal, I think it's called, if I pronounce it right. And the Tunga float down south, and a few of the rivers. I spent about 10 days there. And the funny thing was, those rivers compared to the salmon rivers were like, there's no comparison in the price. It was like a massive difference. But you can still catch. I was having salmon. The biggest salmon I had was 14, and sea trout no end up to £10. And they don't class those as the quality waters. You can see they're mainly trout waters.
The Ulster is it's below the Wrangler, but there's some like little inlets that come back at islands where you'll get fish holding up, and it's more like switch rod or single-handed, so it's a nice change. It's more tactical. It's a bit technical, so I quite like that. Yeah, but the Foss waterfalls were unbelievable where I fished last year. I think there's something like 4 times as much water comes over that waterfall than goes over that big waterfall on the West Wrangler. It's unbelievable. And where I was fishing, you had to basically make a cast, and then I had to ice stick the line to keep it off the waves coming over the waterfall.
Wow.
And then run it through back. But when you hook the fish, the waterfall were like an horseshoe. Imagine an horseshoe. So as soon as you hook the fish, first thing it does, it run right into the throat of the waterfall. And a guy filmed me landing a fish there, and I had to climb around rocks and up onto a big ledge to turn its head and pull it out and get the guy netted it in the middle of some rocks. It was unbelievable to watch when I look back on it, just what we had to do to get a fish out. But really, really powerful water, really fit fish. And that river is not a stock fish, so they're all wild fish that run through that river. Where the East Wrangler, the West Wrangler, they have a ranching policy on there. They breed them on. So when you go to East Wrangler or West Wrangler, you'll see like these little outlets at side of the river. There's sort of probably maybe get about half a dozen cars in them, and they've got aerators in. And what you do, if you catch a fish on the Wrangler and it's 85 centimetres from Kype to Viog tail, they replenish you with smoked salmon, but you put it in a cage on side of water, and then every few days they come and empty this cage, and that's what they do, they strip them and they breed them on. Right. And that's next year's fish, because the bottom of the river, Ceri, is basically, it's like walking down a beach in Tenerife. It's like black volcanic sand. Yeah. So when they come to spawn, there's not a lot of places for them to spawn.
Yeah.
So predation, and you can constantly, it's really easy wading, but you can constantly see sand turning over. So they just get, even if they make a red and try to lay eggs, they just get washed up and away.
Is it the same as the trout rivers up there? You actually book half days?
Yeah, they tend to do, you start on an half day. So most lodges will do half day, day one, but it's long fishing. So it's sort of, you'll be fishing from 3 o'clock until 9 o'clock at night. And then you do full day, day 2, full day, day 3, full day, day 4, and half day the following day. That's the usual time schedule for rods in Iceland on bigger rivers.
Oh, is it catch and kill or catch and release?
No, you can kill. You can kill and you can fetch back, but the only ones you can't kill are the ones that are above 85 centimetres because they go into these pens and they use them for breeding stock for following year. I mean, I'm amazed that Scotland's on its backside for salmon, and I'm absolutely amazed that we haven't done something to, rectify numbers like what they do, because it's obviously successful. It's a business to them. So it's the farmers that own the land. They dictate price. So if there's no people fishing, then they're not getting their income. You know what I mean? So they'll do everything they can to get numbers up every year. So that's why the ranch fish. So I don't know if it's because sort of gentry in Scotland or wherever don't really rely on their river for an income. So that, if they get fish, they get fish, and if they don't, it's not a big problem because it's not going to affect their pocket. But over there, it's their livelihood, it's their living. So that's why the ranch fishing, they want them fish back, every year on year, because that's what keeps clients going back. They're spending the money, and obviously the farmers are getting their cut of it.
They've got it right, haven't they? They can see the value in fish. I remember. Yeah. I mean, bringing people in, and it's a big industry. And when I was there it was a good few years ago. I was there, and I remember I was talking to the guides and that there, and they were saying there was 100-mile ban of nets out at sea. So that was given the chance for the fish to come. But then over here, they can't see that. They think it's the anglers that are at fault. You got to put the fish back. I don't think what anglers kill and catch or whatever they do is going to make an ounce of difference. It's the nets at sea. It makes common sense. It's there in black and white for them to see. It's been a success in Iceland.
It's no coincidence that, when we first were allowed to travel after COVID, I had my best season on salmon. And I put that down to there were nobody working, nobody netting, no trawlers out there. And I had my best season in UK for a long time. Yeah, and I put that down to less nets, less trawlers.
Yeah. I was impressed when you were saying about your trips, how organised and thorough you are, because once you've booked on your trip, you run like a WhatsApp group and you keep them updated throughout. So anybody
who comes on one of my trips, so we start a WhatsApp group. I cover everything: equipment, clothing, flies, anything they need to know about lodge. They'll post a question in there. I'll answer it. So there's nobody going out there blind. We were out there last year, and there was a guy who'd come out with a destination company. I'm not mentioning no names, but he'd fetched totally the wrong equipment. His advice were totally wrong. He'd got everything that I would have told him to take, and I don't want that for my clients. I want them to go out there, and I want them to have the best possible experience they can, even down to casting. If they'll come for lessons, and I'll say, I'll use this cast on this certain beat because it works or whatever. And I have a thing called the only way is spey, because if you learn to spey cast, you will definitely up your numbers on fish, whether it be trout, salmon or whatever, because the amount of people I see walk down a river and then they can't jump in and make a cast when they've got obstructions behind, and they're just walking past fish, past superb pools, So for me, Spey's the way. And I try to drive that home to the guys that are going on trip, because there is some tricky areas, but if you're competent spey caster, it's nothing you can't deal with.
On the Ranga, you're catching these big salmon and plenty of them, but do you get any trout at all on there?
Yeah, I've had double figure plus on. So I've had one about 10, 12 pounds, something like that.
Wow.
Absolute stunning fish. Colours on trout out there are unbelievable.
How did that come about?
So we were fishing on the Monument. Anybody who knows the West Rand, we were fishing on Monument, and it was tough going. There weren't really anything showing. So I said to guys who I know quite well out there, so I said, there's a free stretch of river just above the lodge, and it's notorious for big trout. Down, and what they've done, Ceri, they've took a bridge down, a long bridge that went across this river, but they've left the big concrete pillars in the water, so you can see it causes like a riffle at back, and they're just like hot spots for fish holding. Maybe only made 2 or 3 casts and felt this tug. the tug's the drug, and it really it was a really aggressive take, and I thought it was a salmon, and then once it started showing, I realised it was a trout, and it was probably as good a looking fish as I've ever caught. It was absolutely stunning.
Yeah,
colours amazing.
A nice bonus then. You got a photograph of that fish by any chance?
I have somewhere. Yeah, I have.
Be nice to see that.
Yeah, I'll send you a photo down. But it's strange, you bump into them there, but you're not bumping into them throughout river all the time. They've got to be there, but you just don't bump into them. Although one of the guys last year had probably one slightly bigger than what I had last year. What? And then when I went back in September, they actually allow them to start spinning in September, so it becomes not totally exclusive to fly water. Yeah. And there were a guy there caught 120-pound sea trout.
Wow. What is your angle on the strike? People say you wait. There's a delay, isn't it? Do you wait?
Yeah. No. If I posted this in a question for the week in Spey Worx just to get a reaction to what people do and to debate it. If I'm honest, as soon as I feel some weight on that line, I lift. I wouldn't say I hit it hard. I lift into it, and then once I've totally got weighted fish, then I'll just give it a little tug to set the hook on.
Yeah.
I'm also conscious that fish hasn't turned on me when I tug it, so I'll lift into it, feel the weight of the fish, but I like to try and make sure that it's facing me before I give it a little tug. I wouldn't want to tug it as it were going back to a life, because there's every chance you might pull it out.
What is your biggest salmon?
20.
And where was that from? Ranga?
No. Sorry, I think it was... Yeah, I've had one off Ranga, which a few years ago, which was just like... we didn't weigh it, but they measured it, they estimated 20. And I had a big one off River Tay. I think that was 18, 19, that one they had on the Tay.
Have you ever come down to Wales to fish for the sea trout at night?
I haven't, and Alan Rees has invited me down a couple of times, but I get that many offers, Ceri. And like this year I'm potentially going to assess abroad for FFI, so that might be 2 trips. I've been asked about Malaysia and Italy. I've got my own two trips into Iceland, my own family holidays. I might be trying to go to Dubai saltwater fishing. I've counted up last year. I think I flew, I don't know if it was 14 or 16 times I flew last year.
Wow. You were saying about Dubai. Tell me this story you told me the other day.
I've got a couple of funny saltwater fishing stories. So I'm in Dubai, and we're staying on the Palm, myself and my wife. And I've gone out there, bit of saltwater fishing and a family holiday. So we laid on sunbed, and I sees all this activity on water. So Bev says to me, "You're like a cat on a tin roof. What's up with you?" I said, "Look at all them fish that are jumping." I said, "Dell, I'm bait fish underneath." She said, "How do you know?" I says, "Because they're coming through the surface." And I says, "Look at birds trying to feed from above." So she went, "You're going fishing tomorrow. You'll get plenty of fishing tomorrow." I went, "I'm going to get my rod now." So I nipped up to the room, come back down, strung my rod up. She went, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to walk up to the top." And she says, "Oh, wait a minute, I'll go walk up with you." So walks up beach. I could see this bait ball getting shoved about. Anyway, it started coming towards me. So made a cast. Bang, I felt the weight of a fish, but all of a sudden nothing there. So when I pulled in, it just... Obviously, it was a toothy critter because it had just gone straight through my line. So I quickly put a trace on, and I made a couple more casts, and I started picking needlefish up. Have you ever caught needlefish?
No, I haven't.
They are the smelliest fish ever. You know when you catch grayling, you can smell grayling on your hands. Yeah. Well, they are a lot more smelly than what they are. Honestly, they've got to be the smelliest fish in the world. So I'm releasing these needlefish, and then I make another cast, and I thought this is something bigger. And when I got it in, it was a barracuda. And I think what happening, Ceri, were barracuda were shoving needlefish into the beach, into the surface, and some more small bait fish, and feeding on them. So I'm watching my hands, and I'm releasing this barracuda, and this boat pulls around the corner, big red and white boat with security right down the side. So my wife, Bev, says to me, they're watching you, Chris. I went, well, what am I doing wrong, Bev? I want to join the fishing line. And, what can I possibly be doing wrong? She went, if I were you, I won't cast again. Look at them. They're all looking at you. And they were all in white ropes. So I brought my rod down. I released this fish, brought my rod down, and we're walking back down beach. And as we're walking down beach, this boat is actually tracking us down beach. And she went, look, they're not going. They're not prepared to go. I went, Bev, do me a favour. She went, what? I went, take that hat off. She'd got an hat on. It was size her umbrella, the sun hat. I says, we might as well be walking down beach with a flare. They can spot us at 100 mile away. Anyway, we got back down to our hotel and we sort of mingled in and laid on the sunbeds, and I put rod underneath, and they obviously lost us and they pulled away. But that night we were driving off Palm into the city for just some shopping. And as we're driving off Palm, the big motorway signs. You have a motorway that light up.
Yeah.
This sign was huge, and it said strictly no fishing on the Palm.
Jeez.
So that was a near miss. So we were nearly banged up aboard on that popular TV program.
You'd have had plenty of time to tie flies over the next few years, I suppose.
Yeah. They don't hang about over there. You've done something wrong.
No, they're pretty strict, aren't they?
Another quick one for you is I was fishing in Mauritius, and Bev says to me, I was out in a boat with a guy called Dominic Travano, a real character, French Mauritian. And she said to me, I'm going to be on my own all day, aren't I? I went, yeah, it's only one day, Bev, don't worry about it. She went, can I come? I went, if you want to come. So she went, I'm not, you know what I'm like with boats. So I went, well, not be that far out, Bev, you'll be fine. So she went, all right, I'll come, at least I'll see some at Ireland. So we goes out with this Dominic Travano. And he says to me, when I jumped on boat, he said to me, we're going to go out approximately 13 mile, and there's a sand flat. He says, and we're going to fish off front of there for GTs and other species. So we literally gets out roughly 13 miles, and this sand flat appeared from nowhere, and it was probably about the size of, it weren't even the size of a football field, and it just a sand flat. So pilot pulls boat up, he jumps out, I jumps out, throws me rod, and he says to Bev, does Madame want to come and take some photos? So she went, yeah, I can do. So we gets her off boat, gets her on island. There's myself and him fishing off front of island, and we're picking GT up. There's some sharks on as well, because he's saying, get them in as fast as you can, some black tip reef sharks. So he said, look, we're going to move. We've got a few fish, but he says we're going to move. So when it comes to get back in the boat, he says, does Madame want to come, or would Madame like to stay here for a while? So she said, well, how long are you going to be? He says, oh, not long. We're just going a little bit further out to fish a reef, and we'll come back and pick you up. So my wife goes, Chris, I'll be all right here. I've got some suntan cream and I've got a book. I'll be fine. So we jumps back on boat. We goes out and fishes this reef. About 4 hours later.
Oh, no.
About 4 hours later, we rock back up on this island. She says to me, I started to panic then. She says, I started doing my desert island dips. So, yeah, we've had a
surprise she was speaking to you after.
Surprised we're still married.
Yeah.
When I introduced her as my first wife, because if we have many more of them, there'll definitely be a number two, won't there?
She doesn't fish though, no?
No, it's a good job, isn't it? It's a good job.
I bet when she goes and all this with you, she knows that to take lots of bucks. Yeah,
it's an argument if whether I get an extra rod in or she gets an extra handbag in.
One thing I wanted to mention as well, you've got Spey Worx. Tell me more about that. It's a Facebook page, it is, isn't it? Yeah, it's just a group. I started it in lockdown. I was probably bored and come up with an idea. But the concept were to start a group. And again, I called it Spey Worx because when I do a demonstration, I'll say the only way is spey. Improve your spey casting, you'll up your catch rates. And so I thought, I'll name it Spey Worx. And the idea were that it were like an hub where people could come on, if they want to post the pictures of fish they've caught. I encourage them to put on what rod reel and line setup they're using.
if they want to post a question. We've all done it, Ceri. When we first started fishing, we've gone out and bought a kit that's not balanced, that don't really do us any favours.
Yeah.
And you can go out there and spend thousands before you start understanding equipment. I mean, for example, double-handed lines is an absolute minefield for anybody that's new coming into industry or coming into sport. So it was somewhere I wanted where people could come and ask questions without feeling embarrassed or post debates. We've had debates on what you mentioned earlier today, where do you strike, do you lift, do you feel weight, do you let fish run? We've had debates on whether you play a fish with an high stick or you play it on side with a low stick. And you get, it's not just about, I didn't want it to be the Chris Hague show. I wanted it to be, people being able to like bounce ideas off each other and learn. And then I put a couple of pro staff in, Alan Rees, a lad who I know in Iceland, Dagger Goodmanson, who's very, very knowledgeable. So there's three of us, and it isn't just about us answering questions. It's like there's some very, very experienced fishermen in there and good casters. So they'll offer advice, So if people are looking for, answers on whatever, fly tying, on fishing on salt, any species worldwide, we've sort of got it covered between us, or there's somebody in that group that will have knowledge of it. So, yeah, it's like an hub. We're hoping that it grows, it gets bigger and bigger, it gets more involvement. And
so the Facebook page is just called Spey Worx. And they'll
Spey
find
Worx,
you then,
it's just a group. It's a group. If you check, it's a closed group, but you don't have to ask permission to come in. You just come in, you can be a member. If you just look down, you'll see people are coming on selling kit. So it's I don't think there's anything else out there like it. That what idea. There's nothing where, it's not just about, look at this fish I've got, grip and grin. It's more, we're there to offer advice. And we're there to look at, what other people are up to. It's always interesting, It's not just about one product-centric. It's not going to be just about Mackenzie's. There's people coming on and saying, I bought this rod and I've got this line set up and it's working superb. So if a beginner comes on, he might think, I might have a look at that setup. Or, Chris has mentioned that Mackenzie rod, I might try that. But it's not being created to be just one product. I just want everybody's input and a place where people can come, share ideas and learn from each other.
The thing is, there's so much on social media now, YouTube and different websites and groups. And, there's not a lot of credibility in a lot of them. At least with this, now you've got pro team members and, they know they're going to get somebody then with some, what's the word I'm looking for?
Knowledge.
Credibility. Yeah.
So, and like I said, it's not like they're not all Mackenzie guys. There's Alan Rees, who's with Loomis. There's Dagger, who fishes 300 days a year. That guy fishes 300 days a year, and he guides in Iceland, and that's where I met him. And then when season finishes, he goes back to America, and in a minute he's catching some stunning brown trout, and he fishes for carp a lot. So yeah, there's a lot of knowledge there. But like I said, it's just not down to us three. If people are not coming back and answering questions that pose, then it's highly likely one of us will have answer. But there's a lot of talented guys in that group that fish all over the world, so they'll offer advice as well.
Well, you've obviously experienced a lot of fishing and shows and venues, but have you got any goals this year?
Just to enjoy. I just love being on water. You know what I mean? It's like I've been offered a trip to Argentina back end, but it's just how much can you fit into a year, So that had been new to me because I hadn't done it before. So, but I just love my fish. I love fishing for different species. Carp on fly, pike on fly, grayling, trout, sea trout. Sea trout always come by byproduct of fishing for salmon for me. I don't specifically target them, you know what I mean? So, and then saltwater species. I mean, I fished in Kenya for tuna and sailfish USA, snook, tarpon, GT, queens, shark, barracudas in Dubai, Mauritius, different species. I just enjoy having a fly rod in my hand, experiencing different rivers, different techniques, or different waters.
Yeah. Well, there's one more question I'll have to ask, which I ask everyone. Where would you want to be to make your last cast?
It's a tough one. It's a tough one because I enjoy all the species, but it'll probably be at this moment in time home pool on West Ranga. Like last year, we ate the Ranga at an absolute brilliant time last year, and we were about July 20th.
Right. Well, let's hope it's not this July the 20th.
Yeah, there's no guarantees as there with salmon. You know what I mean? It'll never be same year on year. They don't come same time. But we absolutely nailed our week last year.
I've enjoyed the chat, and hopefully sometime this year, if we can fit it in, I'll come up to Chatsworth, up your neck of the woods.
More than welcome to come up and spend a day on river, mate. I'd love to have a day on water with you. That'd be fantastic. Thanks very much, buddy.
Take care, Chris. If you've enjoyed this podcast and want to listen to more, please consider becoming a Patreon. Well, you will get over 100 past episodes and weekly podcasts, plus photography and exclusive content. To join, visit patreon.com/casting with Ceri Jones, or see the link on my website, castingwithcerijones.com. Well, that's all for now. Tight lines and don't strike too soon.